Hello and welcome to Big Deal. I'm Nisha Poddar. Now, one sector that is clearly on the radar of many investors is India's agri-tech space. Now, according to Blume, India's agri landscape is at the cusp of a transformative revolution powered by technological innovation. And by the year 2035, Blume says that farmers will enjoy increased income, enhanced yields, and widespread access to digital tech and scientific farming practices. Now, this in turn will add a whopping $115 billion to the Indian economy and generate 10 million rural jobs. So what needs to be done to be able to achieve this milestone? Let's welcome on the show our team of panelists who are in this business and understand the sector best. Ashish Fafadia of Blume Ventures, KVSS Sairam of Pratishta Industries, and Arjun Ahluwalia of Jai Kisan. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. Now, we began with Blume Ventures, report. So, Ashish, why don't you give us a sense on what is the potential of agri-tech that you're seeing as an investor currently?
Thanks, Nisha, for having us over. When we look at broadly the agri sector per se, we've always seen that it has been at the fair bit of lag in terms of the innovation and capital that has gone into the space. And when you put things into perspective, we do end up facing a significant amount of food shortages, wastages, both alike. And there has been a burgeoning population need that we need to take care of. And when you couple this with the fact that we continue to be an agrarian economy in a monsoon region, there will be a massive opportunity to solve some of the challenges that we end up facing with the use of technology. So broadly speaking, we do end up triangulating between the usage of technology to ensure that we have a better yield and better productivity. Second, being able to use and leverage technology to enhance financial services and distribution to the markets at the rural bottom of the pyramid. And third is the ability to rationalize the infrastructure, which starts with better transportation, better storage infrastructure, and better authentication of crops. So these are the three factors which are very, very crucial in being able to solve the challenges that we face around agri. And most of that, when you couple with tech, end up having solution potentials which can end up being fastening the process, and at the same time, after hastening the process, you will also end up having the need to track, implement, develop more systematically, and boost up your FDI eventually, and export of these crops and production as well. So from a food deficit to a food surplus, and tech can play a massive role is what the argument they're making.
That's right. Tech can, and with the different business uses, can enhance the value of our agriculture powerhouse that India is. And one of the players which has been in the agriculture sector in many forms for a very long time, for about 3 decades, is Pratishta Industries. So, Dr. Ram, give us a sense on coming from a traditional business. How has the technological and digital revolution in the last few years really changed the dynamics of the sector and the way you have been doing the business?
Yeah, first of all, it is a great opportunity and a great platform. We are taking a right subject about agri-tech. And then wherein, I appreciate wholeheartedly Jai Kisan and CNBC to take up this particular subject as a major core area to focus on. Today, the agriculture segment for the past 2-3 years, the growth rate is in a vertical way because the government of India has realized that the dumping of chemical fertilizers is no more going to help soil health. Therefore, they are frequently amending. Particularly for the past 2 years, the Fertilizer Control Act is being amended, bringing the new concepts, new technologies, which are developed within India. Because for the past 2-3 decades, there are a lot of technologies available in India, but those have been not seen light in view of government policies. Now the government has realized that we have to bring them back to the farmers' usage. So the government has a separate organization called National Organic Program from Noida, Ghaziabad. They are playing a major role, and they're bridging the gap between industry, government, and then farmers. So for the past 2 years, there are a lot of technologies have been incorporated in agriculture sector in order to increase agriculture farm productivity while protecting soil health and also environmental issues, and then replacing partly chemical fertilizers.
That's right. So lots of work being done there. But Jai Kisan has been instrumental in also the financial inclusion of farmers and the entire value chain of the agriculture sector. So Arjun, how do you see the adoption of technology and also the availability of credit, and how is your space really growing in a meaningful fashion?
Absolutely. Good afternoon, Nisha, and thank you so much for having us here all together. I think this is a great platform to be able to discuss what we're discussing currently. I think it's very important to be able to get the right kind of context setting here as well. Some of the biggest challenges that we see with regards to this particular target segment and with regards to rural India is in adoption of technology and fundamental customer trust alongside any sort of innovative practices or products that are being introduced to them. We here at Jai Kisan believe that there has been a fundamental difference in the mindset of this particular target segment and the customer post-COVID, right? And that is a much larger emphasis which kind of gets thrown out there, primarily because of the digital infrastructure that we are being able to create here in India with regards to demonetization and GST, which led to A, digitization, and B, transaction monitoring, coupled with the affordable data which was given by Geo to billion of rural Indians across the country, enable them to be able to adopt these services much more. It enabled them to become much more aware, but most importantly, it allowed our rural Indians and farmers to aspire even more. And this is what today we believe here at Jai Kisan has been a major catalyst for Agri-Tech overall, which now stands at that the customer does not think that technology is a way to just survive, but it is a way to be able to thrive going forward. And that is what I think has really solved for two of the fundamental issues, which is customer trust and customer adoption. Having said this, and these customers now being able to adopt these practices is how we see a massive lifetime value in each of these customers and also the potential impact that can be created. Over the past 4 years itself, Nisha, we have been able to, because of this rise in customer adoption, facilitate credit products to the tune of over 6,000 crores to these rural businesses and farmers in a fully digital manner, of which 3,000 crores was in the last fiscal year itself. And that is where we see a very, very rapid rise. Along with this, we also see a rapid rise in macro data points, like, for example, the UPI usage, which was standing at 10 to 12% about 4 years ago, which now is at a very high 50-odd% as well.
That's right. But answer one question, Arjun. Rural India, how digital or technologically advanced and literate is our rural India, and especially the agricultural space? And how do you see this customer acquisition moving going forward?
Sure. So interestingly, right, there's a very straightforward data point. Rural India today contributes to about 55% of overall internet users in the country as of December 2023. Right? We have over 100,000 retail merchants who use our applications, right? And they today are transacting 70% of the cash that they're collecting via UPI. And that is where, Nisha, we see a massive adoption of these digital services, starting obviously with financial services. And we just believe that more and more adoption around these will lead to more awareness of this particular customer and them being more valuable in the larger scheme of things from a macro perspective as well.
All right, so adoption is really taking place there and it is expanding fast. Now, Ashish, as an investor, what really excites you in this particular space? Because there are different business use cases. And what is the kind of potential that the investors are really looking at?
Sure. So, Nisha, I will break this up into 4 parts. There is avenues around the pre-production, then there is the production, the post-production, and you can say put the other bracket as the allied services. So when you look at the pre-production, whenever you have today platforms and marketplaces that are providing a fair bit of farmer access to ensure that there is an access to agriculture inputs, that is a massive opportunity because that ensures that the problem around shortages, better yield per hectare get resolved. So that is one big avenue. By default, you end up trying to see that there is going to be a boosting of the farmer income level through the higher productivity and the yield. The second area which I mentioned is around the production. This will cover things like you need agriculture eventually to be heavily mechanized and automated. You will see that there will be massive digital solutions. There's also this opportunity around precision agri-tech, which will ensure that there is a fair bit of involvement and integration between what today the satellites are already tracking for many, many years now, and bring it at the level of the phone of the farmer. We all carry the supercomputer in the pocket, and so are the farmers. The idea is to make sure that whatever expensive infrastructure and the billions of dollars that the Weather Bureau and the countries in general have spent start translating into better sensor-based solutions and alerts for the farmers in the country. The entire avenue around the post-production, which is what will create a significant efficiency around supply chains, etc., better traceability. As you see more and more businesses globally, there is this trend around where people want to make sure that I'm tracking the inputs right at the level of the farm. Where if the milk I'm consuming, is there a way to ensure that people can trace what the quality is and what the practices have been adopted to get that milk? Those have become suddenly important avenues. And the last one is a massive opportunity around the financial services opportunities for agriculture and the rural ecosystem. So these 4 brackets, each of them have varied opportunity sets and massive amount of startup activity is happening. We are seeing a fair bit of advanced tech starting to get into the utility mode. Combination of electrification at the rural areas, availability of smartphones and network connectivity. These basic infrastructure challenges no longer remain a constraint. When you start looking at all of the opportunity sets and compound with these 3 services that are now at the bottom of the pyramid readily available, you see that it's a massive opportunity.
That's right. The technological transformation of agriculture sector is what we are seeing. COVID has helped, digital penetration has helped. Lots more to discuss on this after a very short break on Big Deal. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Big Deal and we are discussing the scope and rise as well as the potential of the agri-tech sector in the country. Now, Dr. Ram, being a player in this particular space and also looking at exports of agri products, how can exports as well as distribution be enhanced further by the use of technology? And also, have you all collaborated with startups, new age companies in agri-tech space for the enhancement of business lately?
Obviously, see, the agriculture produce, not only agriculture produce, even the agriculture agri-inputs exports are being increased substantially for developed countries like North America, Australia and New Zealand, because they are more advanced than India for adopting the new technologies. Here we have little challenges if you have a technology. For us, it took almost like 1.5 decades to get the technology to the lab, to the land for the farmers. While Jai Kisan has entered into Pratishta about 1.5 years back, they helped us to bridge the gap between the farming community and Pratishta. And then we are able to deal with the government of India and bring some of the innovative concepts in the Fertilizer Control Act so that the farmers will get benefit out of it. For example, you take organic nano technology. It is replacement for chemical fertilizers. This gives a massive impact for the agriculture sector as a whole in the Indian government, number one. Number two, the organic nanotechnology does not believe in dumping the fertilizers. It gives a required nutrition for the crop. At the same time, it will not reduce the crop productivity because we are the growing population. We have to take care of food security and food safety. At the same time, we need to take care of environment and soil health. These are all related activities when agriculture technology is involved.
Yes.
At the same time, most important thing is that everybody talks about increasing the agricultural productivity. Yes, we are the we are being developed country all the time, and then the growing population. We need to have enough grains to give it to the consumers. The biggest question, one of the points that has come as a supply chain solutions. Here we have seen literally and witnessed during the COVID period when ration has been given to the farmers or the poor people. Lot of ration has been thrown away on the roads because there have been affected by the fungus or fungal or so many issues for food grains. Here, this is the most important topic, that how not only increasing the productivity by using high-tech technology for enhancement of agricultural productivity, and while taking care of soil health and environment, at the same time, we need to consider how agriculture can be converted into an industry. Once upon a time, you remember that we used to call poultry farmer. Now poultry no more a farming. If you call any poultry farmer, he will say, no, I'm not a farmer, I'm an industry. It is a multi-billion-dollar company. Like you take Venky's, you take Suguna, it is 10,000, 15,000 crore companies, and globally used to get multi-billion-dollar companies. Similarly, we have a dairy farming earlier. Now dairy is no more a farming now. It is a multi-billion-dollar company, multi-billion-dollar business. Why not agriculture can be a multi-billion-dollar industry? That is a big question mark. Yes, I don't say that agriculture is not converted into industry, like we have a sugar production and all, but those are all not the important thing, because that is only based on sugarcane related activity. What about the other agriculture?
Dr. Ram, you raise a very important point, because India as a nation is so focused on agrarian economy first, and currently our economy is struggling with one point, which is food inflation. So the food prices and food produce is just so critical for the economy. So very important point raised there. But investors on the other hand also need to lend that support to a sector which is growing and which is just so critical for our economic growth. So Ashish, while every investor has been telling me for the last 2-3 years that Agri-Tech has a lot of potential, not much money has really flown in, or any big companies have been has been an outcome of this industry so far. Where are the lacunas?
When we look at the overall quantum of capital that flows into the country, that's itself stands as massive $1 billion a month now. And when you look at this is particularly with respect to startups in the tech ecosystem, I mean. And when you look at the overall quantum that does get into agri, it's a fraction of the amount. So that's a valid observation, Nisha. When you look at the sector per se, we have seen that amongst the various verticals around technological applications, it has been one of the later emerging sectors. And the prima facie reason is that as an ecosystem, there is a certain pattern in which the successful companies have been built in India. Many of them are listed companies on the conventional businesses. But when it comes to tech usage and application, there has been a relatively more slower pace of growth. There is no lacuna as such. We have seen that there were a few areas that the government has been very, very active. So in the last 4 or 5 years, you would observe that there has been a fair bit of intervention and a positive value add that the government has created in the space. They have come up with the ability to have the farmers directly put their products out there at the mandis. They have created the direct benefit system linking to the bank account. And there has been Agri-Stack vision, which was put out there in somewhere around 2020, which was post-COVID.
Yes.
All of these measures do augur well, and we will see that like the India stack on the financial services side, including the likes of UPI and a bunch of other initiatives, these will become catalytic for the growth from here on.
Yes.
What also is important is there are many areas below that. So there is biotech, there is agri-tech, there is financial services allied to agri. On
Yes.
those verticals, we have seen a fair bit of funding. So
Yes.
that is not something which has not been in the light of investors. As the market starts growing, you will see D2C brands, or you will see farm to product opportunities all coming through, and you will see massive opportunities around exports as well.
Right. Great potential, and this can become a large sector of the future. And we have seen many new sectors being developed post the COVID and digital revolution. Final word to you, Arjun, being an agri-tech player and this space, how do you see the next few triggers coming in and the milestones for the sector on the whole, and how do you see it grow very quickly?
Sure. So Nisha, I think, our sector has had its fair share of learnings, right? And from those learnings, the sector and the companies are emerging much stronger going forward. One of the biggest learnings for our sector has been not to compete with the traditional industry, but rather to be able to collaborate with the traditional industry. And by traditional industry, I mean fantastic, traditional businesses like the one run by Dr. Ram here of Pratishta Industries. So it is that, folks like us on the agri-tech side need to build the right kind of technology systems for the various stakeholders that participate here. Right?
Yes.
And it cannot just be focused towards farmers or towards dealers and suppliers or merchants who are working very closely with farmers, or even corporates who are working with those merchants very closely, but also banks and other sort of financial services institutions who are getting connected to these folks. As we see, the agri-tech ecosystem is spread across finance, raw material, advisory, marketing, processing, and productizing. And we believe stronger partnerships between agri-techs and traditional businesses in a more top-down approach, where agri-techs are being able to partner up with the corporates, then further partner up with their value chains and supply chains, and finally be able to give the final value to the customer, who may be the farmer, may potentially be the most risk mitigated, cost effective, and trust-based network strategy to be able to reach the customer.
All right, so building blocks for creating that whole infrastructure is in the works, and this is one sector which is set to grow, and all of you have been participants in that. But my final editor take on this would be that all of this should land up in really the welfare of our farmers, as well as they are the nerve center of the agriculture sector, and we'll wait to see that as this particular space really gets enhanced and the potential grows going forward. Ashish, Dr. Ram, Arjun, thanks so much for joining us right here on CNBC TV 18. With that, it's a wrap. Thanks to all the viewers for tuning in.